This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
How would you like to get more customers, make more profits, and have bigger breakthroughs? Get Doberman Dan's profit-boosting breakthroughs. Normally, this would cost you $98 per month, but right now, for listening to this show, he's giving you a free copy of his Doberman Dan letter. All you have to do is go to DobermanDan.com and sign up to get your free copy now.
Prepare yourself for the uncensored, nothing held back, no BS reality of how business and life really work. Doberman Dan is off the chain.
I'm going to do something I've never done before, at least not on this show.
No.
I'm going to do questions from the Canine crew. What do you think of that, Joe Nathan?
Wait a second. I thought that you saved all questions and only answered them for the nights inside your marketing Camelot. So you're kind of pulling us behind a curtain, or what's this all about, my friend?
Well, that is true. I said I would only answer questions from the nights in my marketing Camelot. So those would be questions that basically are marketing advice. Some of these are kind of like more fun type of questions because as you know, this is infotainment. This isn't just info. The real marketing stuff. I mean, listen, my heart is yours for free, but my mind is only available for rent. So if somebody wants to start asking marketing questions,
you got to pay for this booty.
You got to pay for that. Speaking of questions, you know how they say there are no stupid questions?
I don't believe that.
Well, then that makes me wonder if that's true. If there are no stupid questions, then what kind of questions do stupid people ask? Do they just all of a sudden get smart just in time to ask questions, or how does that work?
They're question savants.
Question savants. So this first question is totally self-serving. This is from Joseph Ramirez, and he says, I've played guitar for 16 years and heard your band playing on your YouTube channel, where you guys were at a tiki bar looking venue on the beach in Florida. Dude, you're a badass guitarist, and I really mean that. It's a damn shame you're not in a major label yet. Your phrasing was tight and sounded like the kind of tunes you'd hear on Sirius Radio's Modern Jazz channel.
Wow.
So his question is, have you tried to get your band's music to a major label? So really, I mean, my sole intent of reading this question is just to stroke my ego and read for my dear listeners what this guy said about my playing. Couldn't have come at a better time, since I was feeling really crappy about my playing yesterday when this question came in. But so I will answer his question. Have I ever tried? I don't have a band anymore. That was a band I was with at the time. Now I've just got my solo CD. Have you ever tried to get my band's music to a major label? No, I've never felt I'm good enough on the guitar. But the sax player who played on my album, he's got some self-produced stuff, and whatever he did, he sent it to, this is no joke, Jonathan, I'm not making this up. He sent it to the Weather Channel, and you know how they have the forecast, like every 8 minutes, they show the local forecast, and they play music in the background. So his song is regularly rotated on there.
Really?
And yeah, it really is. And like, I couldn't find, I don't know where any of my stuff would be played. It's the weirdest fusion of stuff. It's, some of it borders on rock. Some of it, with the exception of the distorted guitar tone, could be straight ahead jazz. And then there is one tune that I reluctantly say, I guess it could be called smooth jazz. Ugh.
Uh-oh, Kenny G.
So maybe that tune could make it on the Weather Channel. Yeah, Kenny G. But I just can't imagine bragging to anybody, like especially my family. Hey, guess what? This song I wrote is being played on the Weather Channel. All the real musicians would probably laugh at me.
Coming to an elevator near you.
That's right. Coming to an elevator near you. So thanks for the props, Joseph, especially coming from another guitar player. Usually guitar players are just totally cruel. Like how many guitar players does it take to screw in a light bulb? Well, 7. 1 to do it and 6 to stand around with their arms crossed, grumbling about how much better they could do it. So, yeah, I just wanted to read that to stroke my ego. The question part of it was just my excuse.
Good one.
So, here's one from Mike Renard. He says, Bro Dog, or should I say Mr. Doberman, loving the content. I just listened to episode 71 of the podcast and it was a doozy. Do you remember which one that was, Jonathan? What did we talk about on episode 71?
Number 71, it was the one where we talked about tactician or strategist.
Well, that explains his question. He says, I know I'm a tactician right now. I also know I want to be a strategist. So how do I develop that? Well, that's a good question, Mike. Sometime the way to get to be a strategist is by becoming a tactician first, where you just, like we talked about in last week's episode, Jonathan, you just sell the damn thing, or you just chicken foot it, you just put it out there. One of the nights in my marketing Camelot on one of the most recent webinars asked about, he's got this product and it's an information product and he's wondering if he should put it out because he has no back end, and he knows that he'll make most of his profits on the back end. But my advice was, yeah, just put it out. I mean, ready, fire, aim that bad boy and see what happens. Because if all of a sudden you start selling that thing, you'll figure out real quick what your back end needs to be or what you can sell on the back end. So, same advice to Mike. So my point in that podcast wasn't that being a tactician is a bad thing. I think the thing that sucks is when people get stuck in being a tactician, where all it is these one-hit wonders. They develop this thing and they put that out there and then ride that till that horse dies. And then they sit on their hands wondering what happened and then figuring out their next thing. And they put that out there rather than developing a strategy around your thing and creating an entire business about it. Jonathan, you and I actually even had this conversation with one of our friends on an email here recently when an idea was presented to just be a one-shot thing.
Yeah.
And I suggested that that's not ideal. I mean, the way to make money is to build a strategy, and your one-shot thing is just sell the damn thing front end way of getting customers. And then there's a whole business built around it. You've got other products to sell. You've got ascension. So there's more expensive products to sell. Maybe there's referral to vendors. Maybe there's, affiliate offers, joint venture offers, all that stuff. But if being a strategist is going to delay you from just selling the damn thing, then I say, then just go ahead and get started with being a tactician and use that as your stepping stone to figuring it out as you go. And you can build the strategy on the way.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather get something out there and start bringing in some money than thinking about it too much. And I think I know Mike, but he seems to do work. So I don't think he's too much of a tactician. He also gets things done and out there.
Well, or the flip side of it is you get it out there, you find out nobody wants your thing. Well, much better to find that out like post haste than to spend months of your life, or like I've seen some people do, years of their life building a strategy around something that nobody wants.
Yeah, that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, well, because you and I have both done
it. You weren't supposed to tell him that.
Here's one from Alexander Schneider. He says, have I ever talked about L-theanine on this show? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Okay. So L-theanine, an amino acid, it's a component in certain teas, like in green tea, and the real super high quality green teas that are super expensive. They have really high content of L-theanine, and it's been shown to help your brain get into the alpha brainwave state, which is a slower brainwave than beta, like what we're in now. We're in beta. That's our everyday doing stuff, handling business, solving problems, that kind of thing is beta. But beta is not the ideal brain state for creativity or coming up with ideas or brainstorming or stuff like that. So L-theanine has been shown to help your brain get into the alpha brainwave state. I like to combine it with coffee because it takes the edge off of the caffeine jitters. So Alexander tried it, and Oh, he's in Germany. Okay. So he says L-theanine capsules were really expensive and hard to find in Germany. And he said the first 2 tries, he had tremendous results, almost unbelievable. He said he felt relaxed but focused, and it was life-changing. And then he asked, is this state diminishing? In other words, do you see less and less effects with it? I have. Have you ever tried L-theanine, Jonathan?
So a couple things here. You did talk about this now that I'm thinking about it, except I believe you had called it suntheanine or something like that, a higher quality one. And I tried it immediately afterwards.
Oh, yes, suntheanine, yeah.
Yeah, so I tried it afterwards, and I don't know if I had those results. I don't know. I'm not sure. I took it for 2 months, and then I quit, and now I'm thinking maybe I should try it again to see if I get results. But I took it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, like it says, but I was not 100% sure.
Suntheanine is the branded version of L-theanine, and I don't remember the specifics, but apparently you're supposed to get better absorption and better effects or whatever. Yeah, I have found, especially if you take it often, I found definitely the effects are diminishing to the point where you have to start taking more and more and more. And so I try to restrict it, not that often anymore, maybe once a week. And I mean, usually you'll get them in 200 milligram capsules. I can just down a handful of those bad boys, even the suntheanine ones, the branded ones. I have to take a lot, even though I'm not taking it that often. I have to take a lot, but it seems like I have to take a lot of whatever it is.
You got a tolerance.
I'm taking vitamin. I've developed a tolerance. Vitamin C, L-theanine, vodka, heroin, morphine. I just have to keep up. Suntheanine, I mean, like, I have to take a lot. I probably take too much, but I have to take like at least 1,200 milligrams at this point to actually feel it, to feel like it takes the edge off of my coffee. So yeah, my advice, if you decide to try it, I wouldn't do it too often. It does seem to be that you can build up a tolerance to it.
You know what I found that works for me now, that gives me that edge that I'm looking for that way? And I'm probably going to laugh about this, but I go into one of those, what are they called? It's one of those water chambers where you just float in the dark. Damn, there's a name for it. But anyways, you float there in the dark for an hour in warm water. That right there, that takes the edge off, gets me focused, and really just takes me to another level when, 1 or 2 days after that.
So where did you find that thing? What are they called? Not an isolation tank, right?
Oh, sensory deprivation tanks. And I just looked that up, like float tanks and deprivation tanks in my area. And I found one that's like 30 minutes away. And I ended up just buying a membership. And I go there twice a month and float for an hour. And I come out like a new person.
Oh, no kidding.
It's crazy.
So there's something to be said for that about just quieting the noise in your head and quieting the external noise too, but just quieting the noise in your head. If you can, the very few times I've been able to do it, when you can just be the observer in the present, you're not living in the past and remembering stuff and thinking of memories, or you're not thinking, oh, wait, I got to call this guy back. And, oh, I'm late on this project. You're just literally the observer of your own life. You are the third party detached observer of yourself in the present. And when you can do that, my God, magic happens.
Yeah.
But I imagine that sensory deprivation tank is like way helpful for doing that. I've never tried one. What was it like?
So I don't know if you've done meditation, but I've done meditation on and off for a while, and I did a whole year straight of it. Like every day for 365 days, I made sure I did some meditation. And I got into that zone where you're describing, the observer, being able to see my mind working and detach myself from it. And I haven't done as much meditation lately, but it was good preparation for that deprivation tank, because that first time I went in there, that first hour that I was in there floating in the dark, I already had the tools to say, holy shit, look at all this stuff I'm thinking about. And I call it Teflon, like letting it slide off of me like Teflon, but I'd be like, listen to this crazy shit. And then I'd just let it slide off. And then other shit from months and years and everything ago, I'm like, why is that coming up? Because your mind so badly wants to just distract you and just manipulate you. And it took, that first one was a really long session. I've been to 2 more sessions and they go by much quicker, but I come out of there and having a kid at home makes a big difference. I haven't had quiet in a long time, so that 1 hour of quiet is rejuvenating.
I gotta try that. You know, the quantum physics people and quantum mechanics people would say, and I'm probably going to do a real shitty job of talking like a scientist, but they would say that when you achieve that state, when you are truly present and you have now become the observer, you are no longer you. You are nobody. You are no thing. You are the observer. You're no longer Jonathan, the owner of the podcast factory. You're no longer Jonathan, the real estate investor, Jonathan, the marketer, the husband, the father. You are, now here's where we're going to really go down the rabbit hole. You are pure consciousness now connected to the quantum field, which now contains all possibilities in the universe. And when you can reach that state, then they have observed with EEG machines, PET scans, all that stuff. They have observed miraculous brain activity, from chaotic brain activity to complete coherence, with both hemispheres of your brain working together, all parts of your brain working together. The chatter just shut up, to even changes in DNA and spontaneous remissions of all kinds of stuff. Fatal diseases, just like miraculous. That we never planned on taking this direction today, did we? Here I was gonna let's answer reader questions and stroke my ego about my guitar playing, and now all of a sudden we're talking about pure consciousness in the quantum field. But that's why I'm fascinated with trying that. I never knew that you had done the sensory deprivation tank thing.
Bro, I'm into hacking my mind any way I can to get the most out of it. Like listening to, there's that certain kind of music or beta waves or some shit you play in both ears.
Yeah, binaural beats, yeah.
Binaural beats, right? That. I started drawing again to try to engage the other side of my brain, tried to play music. Anything I can do to squeak out any extra from my brain, bro, I'm doing it.
Well, I highly encourage that. I'm on a similar journey myself. I feel like a rookie at it, but I think one of the craziest things about meditation is, at least when you're starting, is figuring out, my God, there is a world of chaos going on in my mind all the time.
Yeah. That
never freaking shuts up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get a few minutes of living in the present, you know, just, man, if you can talk about changing relationships too, if you can just, even for a few minutes, be totally present with somebody, they'll feel it, man. It's wild what happens.
We should go into more of this stuff. I don't want to derail you, but I'm going to make a recommendation. It's called the 8-Minute Meditation. And it was a week of different types of meditation, like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 different types of meditation. And it was only 8 minutes a day. And it really changed the way that I did everything. And I still am a fan of meditation. I just practice it in everything. Like if I'm ironing, I'm meditating. And I know it sounds silly, but by being present, by being there, and by just being in the moment, your life does look a lot different. And you don't tend to worry about all the small shit that normal people do.
I'm glad you brought that up. Speaking of hacking your brain, next question from Kevin. He wanted to know if I had any material or had ever done a webinar on speed reading. Well, I have not, although I'm fascinated with the topic. I mean, I've read a bunch of books on it, on speed reading. You know, it took me forever to read those, by the way. You know, I've had courses on it. The one that was most intriguing to me was photo reading, because that guy was claiming as fast as you flip the page, this was back in the day, by the way, pre-Kindle era, as fast as you flip the pages, you can photo read those pages. not so sure about that. So, but I've used that as a stepping stone. I've developed my own system, and I photo read through certain things because the amount of visual images that your brain can take in is astounding. I mean, it's tens of thousands of images per second. So even though you're flipping the pages, your, whatever you want to call it, your super conscious brain can take it in, even though you may not have comprehension or retention. It's in there one way or the other, which, by the way, you really don't see with your eyes. Did you know that?
You don't see with your eyes?
No, you don't. You see with your visual cortex. You see with your brain. So interesting that, I stumbled onto that little factoid while researching virtual reality.
Yeah.
But yes, so the images that your eyes take in are processed by, that part of your brain. So it all goes in there. So I occasionally do flip through a book like that, and it often leads me to certain words that I am looking for. And then I just developed my own little system where I will then go through sections by running my eyes down the middle of the page, not actually reading words, just going down through the middle of the page until I get to sections that I'm drawn to or I've consciously looking for information about. And then I'll run my eyes from left to right over the words and the sentences really quickly. And if it's something that I need for comprehension or study or whatever, then I slow the reading speed at the appropriate spot for comprehension. So, is it a way that I could teach or that I would recommend? I don't know. It's a way that I've found through trial and error, and it works for me. But yeah, I really don't have, that's the extent of my material on speed reading. You just got it.
Yeah. So I will recommend a book that helped me with speed reading. And I can tell you that right now I regularly read at about 4,000 words per minute, and I have 15 to 20% retention. I've tested it, and I learned these methods through Breakthrough Rapid Reading by Peter Kump. It's like a $12 book on Amazon, and they have quizzes and all this stuff. There's been times where I've clocked in at 10,000 words a minute by doing that picture reading with very low retention. But what you said is key, is the idea of developing a system that works for you. So I used a lot of what I learned there. I also learned from a couple other people on how to get through the content, but I do what you do. I go through, I scan the page, and if there's something that calls to me that I'm looking for, I go deeper into that. But for the most time, I'm dusting a book, going through it, because look, they need to have pages to sell books, but there's only going to be like 20% of that information that's relevant. And in that 20%, there's only going to be another 20% that you care about. So it's like 4% of the book is all that matters to you anyways.
That's true. I forget who it was. Some famous person said you could sum up just about any book in 2 pages at the very most.
Dude, I did this. Like, I was doing Snapchat for a while, trying it out, and I was reading a book a day, and then I would create a Snapchat video with my one big idea from the book to kind of prove that I read it and also make sure that I got something out of it. And it really doesn't take more than about a minute video to go through 200-page book.
Well, and if you just get one good idea out of each book, I think you're still ahead of the game.
Right. Go back and read it again if you need more ideas. If it's good enough, you can go back 4 or 5 times and really get deep into it.
Well, I've got a bunch more questions, but we're over time for today. So we'll have to do another listener questions at some point down the road.
Oh, I was getting into that. We were getting into all kinds of nerdy stuff I love. I love your listeners. So what do you have coming up for us next time, Dan?
I'm going to be talking about the most successful hypnotist in the world.
Oh, interesting. We're talking about Marshall Silver, I guess. All right. So looking forward to that. That is a wrap for another Off the Chain show. Thank you for tuning in, Canine Crew, and we will be back with you next time. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to create rivers of revenue from your existing customers, then the next thing you need to do is go to DobermanDan.com. He's giving away a free copy of his $98 per month Doberman Dan letter just for listening to the show. Go to DobermanDan.com now and sign up for your free issue.
This is the podcastfactory.com.